Hello and welcome back to another video on this brand new channel. My name is Ewan and welcome to What Ewan's Doing. So for this video I'm going to do a very random one today. It's something that interests me. Obviously with the coronavirus situation, I've done some videos already on some tips just to get you through the day, some tips to help prolong food, etc. and keep you active as well. But I'm going to do, well, like I said, just a very random one, and it's going to be about my football team, Midlothian, and these are going to be the top 10 random facts about the club. So once again, I hope everybody is staying safe, keep it indoors, and I hope you enjoy this video. Now, let's get into it. Number 10. Gary MACKAY has the all-time leading appearances for the club. So back in 1980, a young Gary MACKAY signed for the club and then went on to have a staggering 17 years at Midlothian. Unfortunately, during his time, he didn't actually win a single thing. The closest he came to was 3 runners-up medals in the league. The closest to a Scottish Cup medal was the 5-1 defeat to Rangers. He then went on to leave the club in 1997, the March. He then spent his last 2 years playing for RECIEVED and then he went on to retire. Number 9. The biggest transfer fee paid at Midlothian. Now back in 2006, that was the year of the Romanov revolution, and as many Hearts fans will know, so
many players were there.
And out of all of those players, we actually made a signing during the January of 2006 where Graham Ricks was in charge. And yes, I'm going to get into all those managers that we went through during that period. Don't worry. Hearts had paid a record fee for the club of £850,000, and this was for Bosnian-born Mirsad Betlija. But during his time playing, he did earn 37 caps for Bosnia and 4 goals for his national team at that point. He came in with 4 other players during that January transfer window in 2006, alongside Bruno Aguiar, Juho Makela, Ibrahim Tal and Chris Hackett. Number 8. The biggest transfer fee ever received. Back in 2007, Scotland internationalist Craig Gordon was sold to Sunderland for a staggering £9 million. That was the all-time British record for a goalkeeper in Britain at the time. Number 7. The 11 managers during the Romanov revolution.
No, oh my god.
This one is going to take the longest, but it's probably the one I was most looking to talk about. Now back in 2005, we all know that when Romanov came in, everything was rosy. We were off to a flyer during that season, but then it quite frankly all went. Now previously said, we went through 11 managers during Romanov's time, and some of the names when I was doing the research for this, I was like, who the f? So I'm going to list all these managers from 2005 to 2013 when Romanov was actually in charge of the club. So we start off with George Burley from June to October 2005 after we had that unbelievable start to the season. Now I'm not saying that we were going to win the league that season, but if he was still in charge, we probably would have won it, or at least got mighty close and probably gave Celtic a run for the money right up until the end of the season. Next up, we've got the very controversial Graham Ricks from November till March 2006. After that, we had Valdas Ivanauskas from March till October 2006. After that, we have my personal favourite, Edward Malofeev, from October till November 2006. After that, we had Eugenius, I think that's how you say his name, Eugenius Roraya from November till December 2006. And Valdas Ivanauskas again from December till March 2007. We have Anatoly Karabochka from March 2007 till December 2007. Stevie Freo from January 2008 till July 2008. Fan favourite Csaba László from July till January 2010. Hearts legend Jim Jeffries returned to the club for his second tenure in charge from January 2010 till July 2011. We had the iconic season of 2012. Paulo Sergio from August 2011 till June 2012. Again, it wasn't the best season in terms of the league, but in turn we did win the Scottish Cup, in turn giving us Europa League football. So thank you very much, Paulo. June 2012 till February 2013, where John McGlynn took the role, I think it was caretaker boss, I'm not too particularly sure. And then after that, February 2013 saw Gary Locke be the final manager while Romanov was in charge. It then took us to May 2013, where we then unfortunately went into administration, where then Romanov was no longer in charge of the club. The following season, everyone knows, while Gary Locke was in charge, we had a 15-point reduction, and then at the end of the season we were unfortunately relegated to the Championship. But it turns out it was the best thing we ever did. We rebuilt the club, walked the Championship, and then we were right back in the Premier League with Anne Budge in charge of the club. Number 6. Hearts have won more derbies than Hibs. So going back to the first Edinburgh Derby in 1875, on Christmas Day we played Hibs in the Meadows and we actually won 1-0. So during that time, Hearts have actually won 143 games, with Hibs only winning 86 games. So you do the math. And the last Edinburgh Derby played was at Easter Road, where we actually surprisingly won 3-1. And the biggest win for Hearts was the Scottish Cup final back in 2012, where we won 5-1. Number 5. Hearts have had the youngest player ever to play in the SPFL. So back in 2006, Scott Robertson featured in the league game Hearts versus Inverness Caledonian Thistle, where we won 1-0, and he came on as a substitute when he was only 16, making him the youngest player ever to feature for the SPFL. He went on to play for Kilmarnock, Dunfermline and East Fife, and now he currently plays for Livingston. Number 4. John Robertson is the leading goal scorer ever for the club. During his time at Hearts, John Robertson actually had 2 spells at Hearts. He spent 7 years at the club from 1981 till 1988, making 203 appearances and 106 goals. So in 1988, John Robertson actually had a brief spell down in Newcastle. He only made 12 appearances for the club before he upped 6, came back to Hearts and spent another 10 years. He made a further 310 appearances over 10 years and scored another 108 goals and tallied up to 229 goals and 570 appearances for the club. During that time, he did achieve a Scottish Cup winners medal. He didn't actually play the game against Rangers, but at least he got his hands on a medal. Since then, he's been on to manage quite a few teams, including Hearts, Livingston as mentioned, Ross County and East Fife, and now he's doing his second spell at Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Number 3. Tynecastle is not the original home ground. So when Hearts were formed back in 1874, Tynecastle was not actually the original home of the club. We actually played over 3 grounds, I think it was, which consisted of the Meadows, Powburn and Powder Hall. And then in 1881 we made the move to Tynecastle permanently, where we spent the rest of our days at Tynecastle. Since then we've made redevelopments to the stadium, more recently to the old main stand, which has now made the stadium look so much better, so much more modern, and now it's taken the attendance to 20,099 people. Number 2. Hearts versus Gretna, the last Scottish Cup final to have a penalty shootout for the last 30 years. So back in 2006, when Hearts played Gretna in the Scottish Cup final, it was the last penalty shootout since 1990, which overall has had only 1 penalty shootout for the last 30 years. During that game, both teams played till 90 minutes, both scoring a goal, and it was 1-1 at the end of the 90 minutes. After going into extra time, when even Paul Hartley got sent off for kicking out at Derek Townsley, it still couldn't be decided and it had to go to penalties. I was in a massive state at that point. I was at the game and I was literally sitting down in my seat, crying my eyes out at the prospect of returning to school on the following Monday, dreading to get the amount of dogs abuse if Gretna were to win that game. But thankfully, due to Gavin Skilton's skyrocket over the bar, Hearts came out Scottish Cup champions of 2006. Number 1. McCrae's Battalion. This isn't really like a fun fact or a random fact. It was just more, I thought it would be a nice way to ease out the video with telling you a tiny bit about what the McCrae's Battalion was and what it meant for Heart of Midlothian Football Club. So back in World War I, the first team at Hearts at that point had actually volunteered themselves to fight for the country and to help out with the current crisis. The team was actually known as the 16th Royal Scots Regiment, but later down the line it was known as McCrae's Battalion. I just find it fascinating that, especially now in the day and age that we live in now, for football itself, that you would never expect a football team or even one player to volunteer themselves for a war of any sort, never mind a world war, that an entire team volunteered to help and fight for the country. I did compile a list of the names of the players that did volunteer. However, if there's anyone that I've missed out from that do know that their family was part of that, I do apologise. Alfred Briggs, Duncan Curry, Tom Gracie, Ernie Ellis, Norman Findlay, Jimmy Frew, Jamie Lowe, Annis Ness, Bob Preston, Harry Watty and Willie Wilson. Now every single year they go to celebrate McCrae's Battalion at Haymarket, where there is a stone shrine dedicated to the McCrae's Battalion. All of Hearts Football Club, including the players, the backroom staff, etc., all go to pay their respects, as well as the general public. Obviously, once the coronavirus pandemic is over, if you want to go and see the stone shrine for yourself, it's literally in the middle of Haymarket, right next to the train station, where you can have a look for yourself. And that's it. That is the top 10 random facts about Heart of Midlothian Football Club. If you did like the video, please give it a like. If there's any facts that you did quite like, or if there's any facts that you think I've got wrong, please comment down below. Also, if you want to see some future content coming soon, please think about subscribing. Again, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, stay indoors, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.